The sky above Earth cracked open like glass as the alien fleet descended without warning. Cities turned to shadows, and silence fell before the first blast hit. No one knew who they were or what they wanted, only that they came with power and fire. Jake Turner, a former pilot, watched it all from a crumbling observation deck. He wasn't supposed to be here. He had left the military years ago, choosing peace over war. But when he saw children running and smoke rising, something inside him woke again. The alien ships weren't like anything Earth had ever seen. They shimmered like black gold, with strange blue symbols glowing along their hulls. Earth's defense systems were slow to react. By the time missiles launched, entire cities were gone. Jake grabbed an old emergency comlink from his bag. Static, dead channels. Whatever technology the invaders used had shut down communications. He saw a burning shuttle crashing not far from his location and ran toward it, heart pounding. He reached the wreckage. Inside was a strange pod, sealed and humming. It looked like a coffin but felt alive. Jake had never seen such technology, but something told him this wasn't just a weapon. He reached for it, and the pod opened. Inside was a small girl, blue-skinned, unconscious, and clearly not human. Her eyes fluttered open for a moment, glowing with silver light. She whispered a single word Jake didn't understand, and then passed out. He carried her out as fire rained down from the sky. Around him, buildings collapsed and dust filled the air. People ran, screamed, and vanished into smoke. Jake shielded her the best he could and found cover beneath a broken bridge. Soldiers arrived an hour later, human ones. They pointed rifles at Jake until he raised his hands. Then they saw the girl. Silence fell among the troops. No one knew what to do, but Jake wouldn't let them take her away. He stood his ground. In the command tent, chaos reigned. Scientists argued, officers shouted, and commanders pounded tables. "She's one of them," someone said. "She's a child," Jake replied. His voice didn't shake. "And she didn't ask for this war. The military wanted answers. They scanned the girl, poked and prodded her, but she didn't wake." Jake stayed at her side every day. Something about her stirred something old inside him, something he hadn't felt since losing his sister years ago. Then one night, as Earth's moon hung low and red, the girl awoke. She sat up straight, eyes glowing again. She spoke in her alien tongue, then in perfect English. "You're not one of them," she said softly. "You smell like home." That moment changed everything. She remembered someone. A name, Zarina. A palace of golden halls. A queen who sang to her in the dark. Her memories were broken, like shards of glass. But the word mother returned again and again. Jake didn't understand the full story yet, but he knew one thing: this girl was important. Not just to him, but to someone far away, someone powerful. Someone who had lost her long ago and might now tear the universe apart to find her. She didn't speak much in the days that followed. But when she looked at Jake, there was something. In her eyes, trust, fear, hope. She began to draw strange symbols in the dirt, each one glowing faintly before fading. She was remembering. Far above, in the stars, a signal pulsed in the void. It echoed across black space like a heartbeat. Somewhere on a distant throne of gold and sorrow, an alien queen lifted her head. Her eyes widened. A tear ran down her blue cheek. The signal had returned. The one she thought would never come back. The one that had once belonged to her daughter. Her hand trembled as she called her council. "Prepare the fleet," she said. "My child is alive." Asterisk. The girl's name was Lyra, and each day she remembered more. She wasn't just the daughter of an alien queen. She had once lived among stars, inside a palace made of crystal and gold, surrounded by guards and light. She remembered laughter, warm hands, and songs that echoed through glowing halls. But she also remembered screaming, fire, and being taken far from home. She had been hidden inside that pod during a rebellion, a desperate attempt to save her. Jake listened to her stories quietly. He didn't fully understand her world, but he understood pain. He had seen what war did to children. Now he had sworn he wouldn't let it happen to her again. The military still didn't trust her. They kept her under heavy guard. But Jake had become her shield. The brass couldn't deny his bravery during the attack, so they made him her handler. That gave him access to her, but also kept them both under watch. One morning, Lyra drew a symbol on a metal wall. It glowed brightly, and suddenly, a map appeared. Not of Earth, but of stars and routes only her people would know. The officers rushed in, eyes wide with greed. She flinched, stepping behind Jake. "That is the way home," she whispered. But not everyone should follow it. Jake knew then they were in danger. The humans didn't see her as a girl anymore. They saw her as a key, a living path to alien worlds, technology, and power beyond imagination. That night, he packed supplies and crept out with her. Cameras followed every step, but he knew how to blind them. Old skills returned. The city was locked down, but they slipped through its cracks like ghosts. Lyra held tightly to him, her small hand never letting go. She didn't cry, even when alarms echoed in the distance. "Will my mother know it's me?" she asked quietly. Jake looked down and nodded. Somewhere beyond Earth's skies, the Queen was preparing for war. Her fleet was awakening, silent ships coming back to life after years of waiting. Her voice echoed through the halls of her command vessel. "My daughter is calling, and I will answer." Across the stars, emissaries warned Earth's leaders that the Zavrani Queen was on the move. No one had seen her in over a decade, and many believed her empire had collapsed. Now it was rising again with fire in its breath. Back on Earth, Jake and Lyra found shelter in the ruins of a forgotten observatory. There, she began teaching him not just her language, but the songs of her people. Ancient melodies that opened hidden energy in the stones around them. Jake felt something shift inside him, a connection. Like her voice unlocked doors in his soul he never knew were there. She said he had old blood, something rare among humans. That might be why she trusted him. The stars above flickered strangely one night. Then a massive tear opened in the sky. The Queen had arrived. Her flagship dwarfed Earth's orbit, its golden hull glowing like a sunrise. Every nation panicked. The Queen did not attack. She sent only one message: return my daughter or face extinction. In the observatory, Lyra clutched Jake's arm. "I remember her voice," she said. It was like that, strong, sad, beautiful. Jake stood at the top of the observatory tower, staring up at the impossible sight. He knew war could begin with a single mistake. And right now, he and Lyra were the only ones who could stop it. Activated an old military beacon and sent a message directly to the alien flagship. "I have your daughter. She's safe. I want to return her, but only if she chooses to go." Silence followed. Then light filled the sky, and a smaller vessel broke away from the massive flagship. It began descending gently toward Earth. Lyra's face lit up with something Jake hadn't seen before. Not fear, not confusion, but hope. "She's coming," she said, voice trembling. "My mother is coming for me." The Queen's ship hovered above Earth like a silent titan, its presence alone enough to make governments freeze. Every world leader wanted answers, but none dared fire a single shot. They had seen what the Zavrani Empire had done to others, inside the descending craft. The Queen had sent only one passenger, a golden messenger droid, shaped like a royal guard. It carried a message carved in energy and emotion, directed not to Earth's leaders, but to Jake Turner. Jake stood beside Lyra as the vessel landed. The wind howled around them, but Lyra didn't flinch. She could feel something deep in her chest pulling her forward. It wasn't just a reunion. It was something ancient, something sacred. The droid opened, revealing a crystal embedded with a memory. When activated, it projected an image of the Queen. Her blue face was still, but her eyes burned with sorrow. "To the one who protects my child, speak your name." Jake stepped forward and answered with a calm voice. "Jake Turner," he said. "Former pilot, no rank now. Just the one she chose to trust." The crystal responded instantly, scanning him. Then the Queen's voice returned. "You hold what I lost. If she is safe, then speak the truth and send her home. If you've harmed her, there will be no place in the galaxy you can hide." Lyra took a deep breath and walked forward. She touched the crystal, and it glowed so brightly that the clouds above trembled. "Mother," she said, her voice shaking, "it's me. I remember now. I'm not alone anymore." The Queen's image flickered. For a second, the power in her face cracked and something soft appeared. "Lyra," she whispered. "My light, my star. You're alive." Tears welled in Lyra's eyes, but she stood tall. "I want to come home, but only if Jake can come too. He kept me safe. He believed me. He didn't treat me like a weapon." The droid paused. Then in silence it released a small orb. It hovered toward Jake and scanned his body and mind. A test. A judgment. One only the Zavrani Queen could pass. After a long moment, the droid pulsed blue. The Queen's voice returned, stronger than before. "You are not of my blood, but you are worthy. Come aboard. You will both be honored guests." As they boarded the vessel, Jake looked back at Earth. Soldiers stood in the distance, weapons lowered. They weren't enemies now. They were just men who didn't understand what had happened until it was too late. The ship's walls shimmered with strange energy as it lifted off. Lyra clung to Jake's hand. Her heart raced. She was about to return to a life she barely remembered. But at least now she wasn't alone. When the ship reached orbit, the flagship opened like a flower in space, welcoming them. Alien lights danced across its surface. The door slid open, and dozens of blue-skinned guards in golden armor knelt as Lyra stepped in. They remembered her, even after all the years. Even after war and silence. The daughter of the Queen had returned. And the stars themselves seemed to breathe again. At the far end of the grand hall, the Queen stood. Her presence was vast and graceful, her armor shining like a sun. She didn't rush forward. She waited, letting her daughter take each step toward her on her own. Lyra let go of Jake's hand and walked slowly across the golden floor. Her eyes never left the Queen's. Neither spoke until they were face to face. Then the Queen dropped to one knee and opened her arms. Lyra collapsed into them, trembling. "I dreamed of your voice," she said. "And I thought it was gone forever." The Queen pressed her forehead to her daughter's. "You were never gone. Only hidden. And now you've come back to me." Jake stood quietly at the edge of the chamber. No one pushed him. No one doubted his presence. For the first time in years, he felt like he belonged somewhere again. Then the Queen looked at him and spoke. "You gave her back to me. And now, human, you are part of our house. You will be remembered." The Queen's court was unlike anything Jake had seen before. It floated in space, alive with soundless energy, a place of ancient history and deep sorrow. Every wall glowed softly, each line etched with memories of past rulers and lost heirs. Lyra walked beside her mother now, no longer afraid. The court recognized her presence, not just with bowed heads, but with emotion. Some wept, others sang quietly, their voices rising in unison to welcome their lost princess home. Jake followed behind with quiet steps. He felt out of place among the beauty and power around him. Still, no one questioned him. The Queen had given him her word, and here, her word was law. That night, the stars beyond the palace seemed closer. Lyra sat on a balcony with Jake, staring out at the galaxy she once called home. "It feels strange," she said. "Everything is familiar, but also Knew, Jake nodded, watching the stars with her. You were taken young, he said. Now you're stronger than you were. You're finding your place again. Inside the palace, the queen held council with her advisors. Some were pleased by her daughter's return. Others warned of danger. The human may be a risk, one said. He could be a spy or worse. Queen silenced them with a single glance. He carried my child through war. He brought her home when none of you could. I will not hear another word against him. Lyra's return was celebrated with a festival that lit up the stars. Great banners unfurled across the space corridors. Alien musicians played songs that hadn't been heard in over a decade. Jake stood among thousands of blue-skinned people, feeling their joy. He saw children dance, elders cry, and warriors kneel in respect. In their eyes, Lyra wasn't just a royal heir. She was hope reborn. The queen approached Jake during the celebration. She stood beside him, quiet for a moment, watching her people. Then she said, "There's more to this than joy. You must hear what really happened the day she vanished." She led him through a quiet hallway, deeper into the palace core. Holograms flickered to life, showing the past. A rebellion had once risen inside the empire. Trusted generals had turned. Assassins moved through the halls like shadows. The queen had hidden Lyra in a pod and launched it toward an unknown part of the galaxy. I chose exile over death, she said. I believed that one day, someone kind would find her. You proved me right. Jake stood silent, letting the weight of her words settle. He could feel her pain, not through her voice, but in her eyes. She had ruled through loss. She had led through silence, and she had waited in grief. Meanwhile, Lyra walked the old garden halls, remembering flashes of her childhood. Trees that glowed with silver fruit. Fountains that whispered when touched. She remembered playing here, chasing butterflies that shimmered like glass. In one of the garden chambers, a hidden door slid open. Lyra stepped through it, guided by a memory. Inside was a mirror unlike any other. When she looked into it, it showed not her reflection, but her past. She saw herself being carried by her mother, kissed on the forehead, then placed into the pod. She saw the moment the queen whispered a final lullaby. It was the same song she had hummed unconsciously while hiding on Earth. Lyra touched the mirror, and it dissolved into light. Behind it was a chamber with a single silver crown resting on a black stone. It was the heir's crown, untouched since the day she vanished. She picked it up, holding it with shaking hands. The metal hummed gently in response. Then she turned and walked back into the light. Jake and the queen waited in the grand hall. When Lyra entered, wearing the crown, silence filled the room. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Every eye watched her. Every heart accepted her return. The queen stepped forward and lowered her head. "You are home," she said, "and the future is yours." The palace grew quieter after the celebration ended. The music faded, and the lights dimmed across the floating halls. But not everything was peaceful. Far beyond the stars, an old enemy had awakened. One of the generals who had led the rebellion years ago had survived. His name was Varex, and he had sworn revenge. Now he commanded a hidden fleet. Waiting for the queen to show weakness, he intercepted the message that Lyra had returned. Rage filled him, not just for the queen's survival, but for the rebirth of the line he had tried to erase. Inside the palace, the queen walked with Jake through her war chambers. "Peace is short-lived," she said. "When a light returns, shadows follow it." Jake saw the ancient war maps glowing before them. He understood some of the symbols now. Lyra had taught him the language of the stars, and it felt strangely natural to him. "She chose you," the queen said, watching his face. "Not by accident. You carry something within you. A trait my people once knew. It is rare now, but not forgotten." Jake didn't ask what she meant. He had felt it too. Every time he touched Zevrani tech, it responded. When Lyra sang the old songs, he saw shapes and paths in his mind. Something in him had changed. Meanwhile, Lyra stood on a high balcony, her silver crown glowing faintly in the night. She looked out into space and felt something dark stirring beyond the stars. A presence she couldn't name, but one that watched her closely. She closed her eyes and reached into the energy of the ship. A memory pulsed through her, an image of a face. A man with eyes like burning coal and a voice like smoke. Vorax. He was coming. The palace shook slightly. Not from weapons, but from a warning. A scout ship returned damaged. It had found Vorax's fleet, and it had barely escaped alive. The queen called her advisors immediately. War was near again. But this time, they would not hide. We will face him, she said. But we do not face him alone. She turned to Jake and Lyra. You two hold the key. His hatred is not just for me. It is for what you both now represent. Unity, trust, a future he cannot control. Lyra nodded slowly. Then we fight, but not with just weapons. We fight with truth. The queen activated a star-forged beacon, one that had not pulsed in years. Its signal called out to allies across distant systems. Old treaties reignited. Old friends awakened. As the fleet began preparing, Jake trained with the royal guards. He was slower than them, but more unpredictable. They respected his instincts. He didn't fight like a soldier. He fought like a survivor. In quiet moments, Lyra visited the war chambers. She didn't want to rule through destruction. She wanted to protect, not conquer. Her voice carried authority now, not because of her crown, but because of her heart. She and Jake often met at night, talking in whispers about what came next. He reminded her of Earth's beauty. She reminded him of what the stars could become. Together, they imagined something beyond war. Then the queen summoned them both. A vision had come from the ancient seers. Vorax is not just bringing ships. He has found something darker, a relic of power long lost. One that bends minds and breaks worlds. Jake felt his chest tighten. Then we have to stop him before he gets close. Before he reaches this place, the queen agreed. She pointed to a small craft fast and hidden from sensors. You will go together. Find where he waits. If you can destroy the relic, do it. If not, bring back what you can. Jake looked at Lyra. She nodded without fear. I won't let him take anything else from me. The stealth vessel cut through the dark space like a whisper, its hull cloaked in silence. Inside, Jake and Lyra prepared for what lay ahead. Neither spoke much. The weight of the mission pressed heavy on both of them. The coordinates given by the queen pointed to a region near a collapsed star. Strange signals had been detected from that sector, all distorted and filled with echoes that didn't belong to any known species. Lyra adjusted the controls with steady hands. Her face was calm, but her heart raced. She had seen Vorax in her dreams again. He was building something. Something that called out to minds and turned them into monsters. Jake checked the weapons system, though he hoped they wouldn't need to fire. If we find it, we destroy it, he said. No negotiations. No chances, Lyra agreed. He's already twisted the past. We can't let him twist the future too. As they neared the dead star, space itself began to look wrong. Shapes moved where there should be none. Lights blinked in patterns that hurt the eyes. Lyra's voice wavered as she spoke the ancient warding song. The ship passed through a field of floating wreckage. Old ships, shattered moons, and broken drones drifted lifeless. And in the center, hidden inside the debris, was a black temple made of stone that swallowed light. Jake felt his breath stop for a moment. The relic was inside that structure. He could feel it, pulsing like a heartbeat made of fire and shadows. They landed silently and stepped onto the surface of a cracked asteroid. The air was thin, the gravity weak, but Lyra's power formed a shield around them. Her song hummed in the air, keeping the madness away. Inside the temple, the walls whispered. They didn't echo, they spoke. Words in forgotten languages clawed at Jake's mind. But Lyra reached out and silenced them with a single phrase from her bloodline. At the heart of the temple, they found it. The relic stood on a black pedestal, spinning slowly, its surface covered in shifting symbols. It looked like it was made of time itself, folding and unfolding in endless patterns. Then Vorax appeared from the shadows. His face was older, scarred, and burned with anger. You brought her back, he snarled. You let her rise. You dare to defy what I started. Jake stepped between him and Lyra. You failed once. You'll fail again. Vorax raised his hand and the relic responded. A wave of invisible force slammed into them. Jake hit the ground hard, but Lyra stood firm. Her crown glowed with silver light, and her voice rang out like thunder. You cannot break what you could not understand, she said. I am not your enemy. I am your end. She raised her hands and energy poured from her. The temple trembled. The relic cracked. Vorax screamed and charged, but Jake rose and fired a bolt of energy straight into his chest. Vorax collapsed, writhing in fury and disbelief. You were nothing, he hissed. You were a mistake. Lyra stepped forward and placed her hand on the relic. I am not a mistake. I am my mother's daughter. I am Zevrani. The relic shattered with a scream that echoed across the stars. The temple began to collapse. Jake grabbed Lyra, and together they ran back to the ship, fire and stone crashing. Behind them, they launched just as the asteroid broke apart. The shockwave chased them through space, but their ship was faster. They cleared the debris field with seconds to spare. Lyra sat in silence for a moment, then looked at Jake. We did. She said. It's over, for now, Jake nodded. Let's go home. The journey back to the Zevrani Palace was quiet. The stars outside looked calmer, as if the galaxy itself had felt the end of a shadow that had lasted far too long. Inside the ship, Lyra rested with her head against Jake's shoulder. She had poured everything into destroying the relic. The glow of her crown was dim now, not gone, just tired. Jake monitored their course. His body ached, but his thoughts were steady. Vorax was gone. The relic was destroyed. But what truly mattered was the girl beside him, who had found her strength and her place again. As their ship approached the capital, the queen's voice echoed through their coms. She did not speak like a ruler. She spoke like a mother. Come home, my child, she said. The stars have missed your light. When they arrived, the palace opened in silence. No war drums. No grand speeches. Just the people, thousands of them, gathered to welcome back what they thought they had lost forever. Lyra stepped out first, her silver crown shining again. She looked stronger now, not just in body, but in soul. The crowd knelt, not because of her title, but because of her courage. The queen waited at the top of the grand steps. As Lyra climbed them, she reached out, not as a queen, but as a mother. When their hands met, the silence broke into cheers. Jake stood back, watching the reunion. He didn't need to step forward. He had already done his part. But then the queen called to him. Jake Turner, she said. You brought light back to this throne. You carried what none of us could. For that, you will always have a place here. He walked up the steps, stopping beside Lyra. She took his hand without hesitation. This is your home too, she said. If you want it. Jake looked out at the alien world that no longer felt strange. He thought of Earth, of war, of loss, and of all that had brought him here. Then he nodded. The queen raised her hand, and the crowd went silent. Let this day be remembered, she said. Not as the return of a princess, but as the day hope came back to the stars. A great light filled the sky, a signal to all allied systems. The relic was gone. Peace had been restored. And something new had begun. Jake chose to stay, not as a soldier, not as a guest, but as part of a new family. One built on trust, not fear. Lyra often sat with him on the palace balcony, singing to the stars. Her songs were no longer filled with sorrow. They were songs of rebirth. The queen watched them from afar, smiling softly. Her daughter was home. Her world had changed. And she knew now that peace could grow, even after so much loss, because a human had brought her daughter back, and with her, a future worth protecting.